Welcome to This Explainer. Right now, there is a massive wave of panic sweeping the country. Drivers are absolutely terrified that the fuel they're pumping into their cars is quietly eating away at their fuel lines and literally melting engine gaskets from the inside out. So today, we're diving straight into the E20 Petrol panic to find out exactly what's happening under your hood. Okay, so let's talk about this rollout of 20% ethanol blended petrol, which we all know as E20. If you looked online, social media is just flooded with claims of stalled cars, completely ruined fuel lines, and some incredibly massive repair bills. But we have to ask, is this fear actually backed by science, or are we just caught in a giant echo chamber of misinformation? Section 1, the E20 engine panic. To figure this out, we've got to look at the very real and very expensive reality that everyday drivers are facing right now. Because for a lot of people, this isn't just some internet rumor. Take this recent landmark ruling in Raipur, for example. A consumer bought a hybrid vehicle in early 2023, filled it up with E20, and the car just started stalling repeatedly. Even after constant fuel changes and tank cleanings, the problem didn't go away. So the Consumer Commission actually ordered the manufacturer to completely replace the car with a new E20 compatible model or refund the entire purchase price of over 20 lakh rupees. I mean, that is a massive legal precedent. And honestly, this perfectly illustrates why people are up in arms. There's this unreleased government study by ARAI that found putting E20 in older, pre-2023 cars designed for E10 can absolutely cause rubber components in the fuel system to deteriorate over time. We are talking about hoses, gaskets, seals, and O-rings literally degrading. In their testing, they even saw a thermomechanical failure of an exhaust valve after about 800 hours of running. So the threat of component wear in older cars? Yeah, that is completely scientifically documented. Section 2. What is E20 petrol? But hey, before we declare our older cars completely doomed and just abandon them on the side of the road, we really need to understand the chemistry of what E20 fuel is actually doing inside the tank. The crucial thing to know is that ethanol is hygroscopic. That basically means it naturally absorbs water from the surrounding air. And this one scientific property is exactly why people are terrified their engines are going to instantly rust out or completely hydrolock, especially during monsoon season when humidity is through the roof. But here's where we totally flip that fear on its head. E20 can actually safely dissolve nearly double the amount of water compared to the older E10 fuel. Think about it like this. E10 can hold about 100 milliliters of water in a standard 20-liter tank before it separates and starts causing problems. E20, it can hold up to 200 milliliters safely. By dissolving that trace moisture and just burning it off in the engine, E20 is effectively raising your safety margin against moisture, not lowering it. Section 3, Science versus Social Media Myths. Let's look at the stark difference between social media fear-mongering and actual mechanical physics. If you think humidity is going to instantly ruin your engine, the math just doesn't add up. Sure, ethanol acts as a strong cleaning agent. It can loosen up old deposits and temporarily clog an old fuel filter. But the fear of an engine hydrolocking just from humidity? Totally a myth. 100% humidity only adds a microscopic fraction of a milliliter of water vapor to your tank. You need a solid 20 to 40 milliliters of liquid water injected all at once to actually hydrolock a cylinder. Plus, because that trace moisture is safely dissolved within the ethanol, it doesn't just sit there on the bare metal rusting your tank. And this is heavily backed up by leading researchers at IIT Kanpur. They emphasize that catastrophic engine failure from the fuel itself is incredibly rare. Honestly, if a car breaks down due to water contamination, it's way more likely caused by degraded, poorly maintained underground fuel storage tanks at your local gas station, rather than the chemical properties of the ethanol itself. The science shows these engine damage fears are pretty largely exaggerated. Section 4, the real cost, lost mileage. So if your engine isn't going to spontaneously explode on your morning commute, where is the real damage happening? Well, the answer isn't under the hood, it's right in your wallet. The real hit is to your fuel economy. You see, ethanol has a calorific value that is roughly 35% lower than pure petrol. Calorific value is just a fancy way of saying how much energy is packed into a specific amount of fuel. Because ethanol has less energy, your car physically has to gulp down way more fuel just to travel the exact same distance. A real-world test by Autocar India vividly demonstrates this exact energy drop. They took 4 super popular cars and drove them on the exact same city loop, and the results were undeniable. Vehicles lost anywhere from a 3.8% efficiency drop in the Maruti Suzuki Dzire to a staggering 12.6% drop in fuel efficiency for the Hyundai Credit N-Line when running on E20. That is a highly noticeable chunk of your mileage just vanishing into thin air.
And here is exactly why this matters to you every single time you fill up. The government hasn't offered the retail tax concessions that NITI Aayog originally recommended to offset this exact mileage drop, so you are paying the same high price for less distance. This efficiency drop translates to roughly 400 extra rupees flying out of your pocket for every 1,000 kilometers you drive. You're effectively paying a hidden tax for decreased performance.
Section 5. Good policy, rushed execution. This brings us to the macroeconomic picture. Why push this so hard? Well, E20 was designed to slash a massive $137 billion oil import bill and lower tailpipe emissions. That is a fantastic, necessary goal. But the execution? A bit chaotic. Look at the food versus fuel dilemma. The plan was to use surplus agriculture, right? But instead, a massive 42% surge in maize-based ethanol production happened right alongside a severe 5 million ton domestic maize shortfall. We're literally diverting crucial food crops to feed our cars instead of our people, which drives up agricultural costs. And it gets wilder. The alternative primary source for ethanol is sugarcane, which is incredibly water-intensive. It requires a staggering 3,630 liters of water just to produce 1 single liter of ethanol. In a country already facing severe droughts and water shortages across multiple states, that is a highly questionable environmental trade-off. This rushed timeline is the absolute root of the consumer panic. The government aggressively pushed the target for full E20 implementation forward from 2030 all the way up to 2025. In doing so, they completely bypassed the crucial 4-year preparation window that automakers desperately needed to upgrade engine hardware and for older incompatible cars to safely cycle off the roads. Section 6. Lessons from global markets. To fix this massive trust gap with consumers, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. India needs to look at countries that have successfully integrated biofuels over decades. Brazil is the absolute masterclass here. They took 4 long decades to build a flex fuel ecosystem. Today, over 80% of their cars are flex fuel. This gives everyday drivers the freedom to pull up to the pump and choose their fuel mixture, pure petrol, pure ethanol, or any blend in between, based entirely on what is cheaper that day. They gave consumers a choice, and the infrastructure grew naturally to support it. So as we wrap up this explainer, the crucial question we have to ask is this. Will India slow down to build a sustainable flex fuel infrastructure using next-generation ethanol? Or will we continue to rush a policy that leaves everyday drivers footing the bill and worrying about their engines? The intention is absolutely noble, but the execution needs a serious tune-up.